Most men grow up believing that being kind, accommodating, and selfless is the key to winning a woman's love. They think if they're sweet enough, patient enough, and agreeable enough, they'll be rewarded with loyalty and affection. But reality doesn't work that way. Women may appreciate a good man, but they don't desire one who lacks conviction. The nice guy operates under a dangerous illusion that suppressing his own needs to please hers will make him irreplaceable. Instead, it makes him forgettable. The problem isn't kindness, it's weakness. A man who constantly seeks validation, avoids conflict, and bends to her every whim doesn't inspire passion. He inspires indifference. Women don't fall for men who need their approval. They fall for men who command respect. The nice guy thinks love is earned through sacrifice, but sacrifice without boundaries is just self-betrayal. He believes, if he gives enough, she stays. But in truth, she stays when she feels something, and comfort alone doesn't create that spark. Deep down, women crave a man who stands firm, not one who folds under pressure. They want someone who challenges them, not someone who placates them. The nice guy misunderstands this. He thinks his compliance is strength, when really it's just fear of rejection, fear of confrontation, fear of being alone. But a woman can sense that fear, and it drains attraction. She may say she wants a man who's always sweet, but what she truly responds to is a man who's unshakable. The nice guy isn't rejected because he's too good, he's rejected because he's too safe. Predictability kills desire. A woman doesn't want to feel like she's the prize you're desperately trying to keep. She wants to feel like you're the prize she has to rise to meet. The moment a man prioritizes her approval over his own self-respect, he loses both. The truth is simple. Women don't love men they can walk over. They love men they have to reach for. The so-called bad man isn't some heartless villain. He's simply a man who refuses to play by the unspoken rules of emotional manipulation. While the nice guy tiptoes around a woman's feelings, afraid to upset her, the bad man operates from a place of unshakable self-assurance. He doesn't seek permission to exist on his own terms. He doesn't soften his edges to make others comfortable. And ironically, this is exactly what makes him magnetic. Women don't fall for his cruelty. They fall for his certainty. There's an undeniable power in a man who knows who he is and doesn't apologize for it. This man understands something fundamental. Attraction isn't negotiated. It's demonstrated. He doesn't beg for connection or fish for compliments. His presence alone demands attention. While the nice guy scrambles to prove his worth, the bad man lets his actions speak for themselves. He's not impressed by drama, nor does he reward tantrums with attention. If a woman tests him, he doesn't react, he observes. If she pushes, he doesn't bend, he steps back. This creates a dynamic where she's forced to match his energy, not the other way around. The secret isn't in being cold or aloof, but in being unpredictable in the best way. The bad man isn't following a script, he's writing his own. He doesn't rush to fill silences with nervous chatter. He doesn't panic when she pulls away. His emotional independence is what makes her lean in closer. Not because he's playing hard to get, but because he genuinely is hard to shake. Women don't crave a man who orbits around them. They crave one who stands at the center of his own world, inviting her to join him. But only if she's willing to rise to the occasion. The foundation of true masculine strength isn't found in aggression or dominance, but in the quiet power of unbreakable boundaries. While the nice guy constantly adjusts his limits to avoid conflict, the authentic man draws his lines in steel and lets the consequences fall where they may. This isn't about being rigid or inflexible. It's about possessing the self-respect to say, this far, no further, without apology. Women may test these boundaries unconsciously, not out of malice, but because they're biologically wired to seek the strongest container for their emotions. When they encounter a man who won't be moved, something primal within them responds. The paradox of boundaries is that they actually create more freedom in relationships, not less. A man who clearly defines what he will and won't tolerate eliminates the exhausting guessing games that plague modern dating. He doesn't negotiate his deal breakers or make exceptions for pretty faces. If a woman disrespects his time, his values, or his peace, his response isn't anger. It's simple, calm detachment. This isn't punishment, but natural consequence. Ironically, this very willingness to walk away is what makes walking away unnecessary. Women don't respect men they can manipulate. They respect men who remove that option entirely. This principle extends beyond romantic relationships into every aspect of life. The man with strong boundaries at work commands more respect. The man with boundaries around his time attracts higher quality connections. The man who refuses to tolerate nonsense finds himself surrounded by people who operate at his level. Weak boundaries attract chaos, strong boundaries create order, and in a world where most men have been conditioned to please at all costs, the man who stands firm in his standards becomes instantly distinguishable and infinitely more desirable. The most profound relationships aren't built on compromise, but on complementary energies, the dynamic interplay between masculine purpose and feminine responsiveness. This isn't about outdated gender roles, but about fundamental polarity that exists beyond social conditioning. The masculine provides direction, structure, and forward momentum, while the feminine brings fluidity, emotion, and depth. When this balance is disrupted, when a man abdicates his natural leadership to avoid conflict or seek approval, the relationship loses its charge. Women don't want to lead. They want to surrender to a vision greater than their temporary emotions. This leadership isn't about control, but about creating a container strong enough to hold feminine energy without being overwhelmed by it. The authentic masculine presence remains steady when emotions run high, provides clarity when things feel chaotic, and makes decisions with long-term vision rather than short-term comfort. He doesn't react to every mood swing or get drawn into unnecessary drama. Instead, he maintains course like the captain of a ship during a storm, aware of the turbulence but focused on the horizon. This creates the psychological safety women truly crave beneath their protests and tests. The paradox is that, by refusing to be pulled into emotional chaos, a man actually creates space for deeper intimacy. When a woman senses she can't manipulate or destabilize him, she's free to be fully feminine, vulnerable, expressive, and alive. The relationship becomes a dance rather than a power struggle. This is the hidden longing behind every test, not to break the man, but to confirm he's strong enough to handle her full depth. The leader doesn't demand respect through words, but earns it through unwavering presence. And in that presence, both partners find their highest expression. The transformation into an unshakable man isn't about learning tricks or mimicking behaviors. It's an alchemical process of shedding weakness and reforging your core. This metamorphosis happens in silence, through countless small decisions where you choose self-respect over convenience, truth over approval, and purpose over pleasure. The man who emerges isn't just attractive to women, he becomes magnetic to life itself. Opportunities find him. People lean in when he speaks. Doors open without force. This isn't magic. It's the natural result of becoming someone who can't be bargained with, manipulated, or derailed from his path. Women sense this transformation at a primal level. They can smell the difference between a man who's pretending and one who's been tempered by experience. The pretender uses techniques. The authentic man moves from instinct. He doesn't chase, not because he's playing games, but because he's genuinely focused on his mission. Ironically, this makes him the prize rather than the pursuer. Women orbit around him not because he demands it, but because his energy creates gravity. When he speaks, it carries weight. When he sets boundaries, they're respected. When he walks away, his absence is felt like a change in atmospheric pressure. This isn't about becoming cold or closed off. It's about reaching a state where your self-worth is no longer negotiable. The fully realized man loves deeply but never loses himself. He's passionate but never desperate. He can walk into any room knowing he brings value and leave any situation that doesn't honor it. And when the right woman finally recognizes this quality, when she meets a man who doesn't need her but chooses her, that's when real love begins. Not the needy, clinging kind, but the powerful union of two complete people who elevate each other simply by being who they are.